Hey everyone, it's Varun. Sorry I couldn't make it into class today. I got held up with some other things, but I still wanted to talk to you all virtually to make sure everyone heard about some big course changes from me directly. So, we've gotten some feedback about the course so far, and it's been good, but there are some changes that people are requesting, and we definitely want to implement that immediately. So what will this look like? Well, there's two major changes, and I'll go over each one in depth as well as some examples so that everyone's kind of on the same page by the time I'm done talking here. So the first big change is to the projects. I understand that so far the projects have been nebulous, confusing, and honestly like daunting if you're new to programming or deep learning. You just kind of look at this wall of like a tutorial in front of you. It's not really inspiring, honestly. So what I went and did is I made Unit 1 and Unit 2 project templates. If you remember, that's the clustering and PCA project for Unit 1 and the MNIST digit classifier for Unit 2, and I turned them into Jupyter notebooks in which you're directed to through my comments and these markdown cells type little snippets of code that kind of fit together like puzzle pieces. So there's no need to essentially code the entire project now, but hopefully by typing these few lines here and there to fill in the blanks almost, you'll be able to get a sense for like how to code and the structure of these projects. That's my hope. So there's two ways to actually use these templates, and first I'll show you where they are. If you go to the GitHub that we've been using since the beginning of the course, you can find it pinned in the announcements channel. You can see that there's two new folders, Unit-1 and Unit-2. I zoomed in on Unit-1. There is a answers folder. I'll get into what that is exactly in a second. And there's a clustering.pca, that's just the name of the project, .ipynb. .ipynb is a Jupyter notebook. If you have worked with those before, great, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, don't worry. It's a very common thing to work with, and anyone around you, I'm sure, can help you figure out how to use a Jupyter notebook. But long story short, it's basically a bunch of, I think of it, well, this might not be fully accurate, but it's like a bunch of mini Python files that kind of connect seamlessly in a way. And you can also put little markdown cells, is what they're called, within this notebook so that you can kind of talk to the person looking at it. It's like an interactive project almost. So as you can see right here, if I zoom in on the sklearn clustering and PCA project, there's a little intro section telling you how to do it. There's a little bit of code kind of over down here, and then is a little more information, a link to something else, and then some more code. And you can't really see it because it's a lot of text, but towards the bottom there's like a little to do. It tells you what to do for that cell. So how the projects will work now, instead of just throwing you a tutorial and saying do it, is you go to the unit that's associated with the project that you want to complete. You go to the Jupyter Notebook, and you basically just follow along. It's a custom-made tutorial. I removed and abstracted away a lot of like the dirty kind of like down annoying bits of code so you can just focus on learning something clean. And yes, it's very important to learn those annoying bits of code, but it's easier to observe them being done properly and then reference and replicate and then slowly embed that into your memory. Instead of having to just make it on your own like the first time you're even trying to do a project like this. So the idea is you look at these cells, these code cells, it'll tell you what to do in that code cell, and then you just go ahead and do it, and then you can click run on that cell and everything above it, and it'll give you some output that you can check against stuff inside the answers folder. Inside the answers folder, there's some final output images, basically what you should get once the whole thing is said and done, some intermediate ones, and then also the proper code that should be in the cells. So what you would do is you'd go in, you'd type what you were told to type essentially, and then you'd see if it works. If it does, wonderful, you compare your output. If it doesn't, you try again. If you're really stuck, you can always just go back and check out like what I do wrong. Well, how is my code different than Varun's? Like where'd it go wrong, and so on and so forth. There's two ways to access these. Now that we kind of established what they are, you can clone the GitHub repo if you know how to do that. I would suggest that. However, if you don't want to clone the GitHub repo for some reason, or you're not familiar with GitHub but you really want to jump into the project, you can just copy and download the Jupyter Notebook, the .ipynb file directly, and just work in that. That works fine too. It's pretty modular. But make sure to reference the answers one when you want to check your work. And that's all. Like I said, everything here is on the GitHub. Another thing about these tutorials, the difficulty and time commitment has been greatly, and I mean greatly, decreased for these projects because I have removed and typed a lot of the code myself in those little, like, I don't know if you can see them. There's a hashtag or a pound sign and a bunch of dashes, another pound sign. Between those kind of markers, that's code that I've written that you don't need to touch. That's the code that your code will kind of fit into. So that should hopefully greatly decrease the complexity of these projects, but still help you get an understanding for how the code flow works. So and also as you can see kind of towards the bottom there's a little tip section. So even for the parts that you're typing, I really try to make it clear cut what you're typing and why, because I think that's very important to understand. These should hopefully be pretty seamless and make it a lot easier to get these projects done if you use these templates. Of course, you can always reference the tutorials that we had if you want to just like kind of gung-ho it from the start. But if you want an easier introduction with a lot less time commitment, and I really mean a lot less. The first project, which I wanted to make super easy, I think you're typing a grand total of maybe 10 to 15 lines of code to complete it. But what you're doing is still really cool, and you'll be able to understand it all if you read the code, right? Hopefully, this reduced difficulty and reduced time commitment, but still same understanding level, hopefully, results in more submissions. Which brings me to the next part of the course change, which is the submission changes. There are now 2 due dates every week. There's one on the Tuesday following the Friday meeting. So what that means is today is 2/10. The Tuesday following this Friday will be 2/14. On that Tuesday, one synthesis question will be due. And you have to post that into the Intro Neuro AI channel. And then on the Thursday following this Friday meeting, so today is 2/10, Tuesday is 2/14, Thursday will be 2/16. That's when the project template, the completed templates in this case, the project.ipynb Jupyter Notebooks for coding or text document for neuroscience, will be uploaded to the same Intro Neuro AI channel. So basically, Tuesday following the Friday, one synthesis question is due. Just put the question and the answer, detailed answer, into the Intro Neuro AI channel and tag a TA, me, basically anybody to check your work. And on Thursday, you want to post your project progress, hopefully completed. That's the goal, is to complete it, because they've been reduced in scope greatly so that every single project will take you under an hour for sure. So regardless of completion though, maybe you're very busy that week, do send in something, because, as I'll emphasize here, this needs to be done for us to consider or know that you have finished that week of the course. If we do not see you send in these things, we will not know, and we won't let you say that you have completed that week of the course, because you've shown us that you haven't, or you have not shown us that you've completed the content and the project. And we need to know that to make sure that you've actually understand the material for that week. So again, Tuesday synthesis question, Thursday is when you submit the project. And here's a little example for this week in case you're confused, but this will be hopefully repeating every week from here on out as we get these easier projects with hopefully higher return rates per se. Yeah, that's the main thing with the submission changes. Again, I'm going to emphasize you need to do this for us to know that you've completed the content. We will be checking who submits it, like pretty briefly. And the big thing is this: if you're stuck, please let us know. We can definitely help you. Of course, there's the answer sheet, but I always think it's good to struggle and learn at the same time. I think that's when real learning happens. So feel free to struggle, but again, don't bash your head over it. If you get stuck on it for too long, please at us. Maybe take a peek at the answers, try and figure out like, oh, my first line was wrong. How can I fix my second line? So on and so forth. This is going to still be to some degree self-directed learning, but again, you can just ask us to provide you with resources or some help, maybe type out a little paragraph for you, and that will help you a lot in completing these easier projects. So that brings me to what exactly are we going to be doing this week now that I've introduced the course changes in the easier project templates and the submissions. So I made this little flowchart because people are at a lot of different places right now, and I want every single person that's at a different place to actually be working on something. But I want them to be working on something that'll actually help them and not just throw them into this week's content, right? But I don't want people that have completed this stuff to kind of be held back and not be able to work on cool new things. So you can just follow this flowchart. I'll give an example. Let's say I didn't finish either project, right? You start there. Oh, I see, haven't finished either project. Go to left, go to the neither, and then it says work on the MNIST classifier project, Unit 2, Week 3. Or say you have finished all the projects so far, then you go to the both side and says, oh, work on the new project that Carter will introduce, Carpet the Micrograd, which is the standard week 5 content that's standard pacing. And then if you haven't done any of the projects or any of the content and you're really struggling with it, then please come speak to me. I'm not going to come and kick you out of the course, don't worry. I just really need to know like where you stand if you want to like try this course some other time, if we can catch you up quickly somehow, but I want to make sure learning is actually happening. So please take a second to just kind of find yourself on this flowchart, maybe take a good look at it. And these slides are posted. If you go to the announcements channel, they're pinned. It's just this one big mega slide. I think the presentation I'm doing right now starts on slide 57. So feel free to go there if you want to linger on this a bit longer and check out where and what you're going to be doing this week. Right. So here's a common case that I think a lot of people will find themselves in. I've done the content for most weeks, watched the videos, read the articles and such, but none of the projects because I was busy. I don't know what to do. So the first thing you should do, if you go back here, you finish neither of the projects, go to the left, work on the MNIST classifier. That's what you need to be doing. So you should work on finishing week 3 content according to the flowchart. Now, what is week 3 content? Well, consult the GitHub. Go to the GitHub, check out, oh, I2 resources doc. Here's Unit 2. Unit 2 is what I'm supposed to be doing for week 3, right? It's a little misaligned, but that's just the way we set up the mega doc. It should be pretty clear if you just head to the GitHub and read that week. It'll tell you exactly what to do. You can reference the mega doc, and if you are in this scenario, which I think a lot of people are, you will submit one synthesis question from Unit 2 on 2/14, and you will submit the MNIST classifier.ipynb completed project on Thursday 2/16. Hopefully midterms aren't, kind of everywhere right now, but if you are able to really, really, really take the time to do these things, it won't take that long. Trust me. These project templates are made to be easy, quick, but fun places to learn. So if this is you, if you relate with this scenario, here's exactly what to do. But if you're kind of in a different place, take a look at this flowchart. So I'm almost done here. I'll stop talking soon. But if you have any questions, of course I can't answer it because I'm just a recording. But please talk to other TAs, message me on Discord. If you have any questions about the course structure, I hope it's a lot like nicer now, and people will be able to actually submit these projects and such. But if you have any questions or want to make some small tweaks here, so on and so forth, please feel free to message me. But between the easier projects, the structured templates, and the rigid submissions, hopefully this feels more like a course that you all can dedicate yourselves to and have fun doing so. Finally, something, like I said, we got some feedback about the course and we implemented it. I want even more feedback about the course and I want to implement it even more because we really care about this stuff. We're doing it for you guys. So here's a form. Please take a second to just like scan this, and Chayton, do me a favor and put this up on the big screen after everyone's done. Make sure they all fill this out. Thank you. Fill this out. That's me in the center right there. You should, it won't take that long. It'll take like maybe 2 minutes to fill this out. So go ahead and do that in class. And make sure you write some thoughtful responses on like what we can do to make the course better, because we will actually take a look at that and implement it. So we'll show that later for sure. And then that's really all I have. Thank you for covering for me, TA. Sorry I couldn't be there in person again. Another small thing that I wanted to mention that we're going to be doing today, and we'll see how it goes, we'll have work time in class. So before we've been giving you lectures and such, which are great for understanding, people have seemed to be really liking the lectures, but work time I think is important because getting over that first hurdle of starting the project is instrumental in actually like being able to complete it. If you start the project on the day it's assigned, you have a much higher chance of actually completing it when the due date comes around, because it doesn't seem like this mountain anymore. It's just, oh, I already finished half of it, might as well finish the rest. That's the hope with giving you guys some work time in class, and you're also surrounded by a bunch of peers that are very intelligent that can help you if you get stuck on something kind of early on in the project that would demotivate you at home. But at I2 obviously you can get unstuck pretty quickly because people know exactly what to do. So we're gonna have some work time, but not before Carter introduces Carpet the Micrograd, which is the project for like the original pacing of this week. I'm sure there are some people that are going to be tackling this project, so this is relevant to them. And even if you aren't going to be tackling this project, it is definitely something you should look into in the future because I think it's super cool. I won't get too much into it, but Carter will. He'll go over the project in short, and after that, we will have some work time and also make sure to fill out that survey. That's really all I have. Thank you guys for listening to me talk for like, I don't know, like 10, 15 minutes. That's, yeah, I want to wrap this up by saying thank you. It's been wonderful working on this course. I'll be back next week, and I'll see y'all then.